Hello and welcome back. We're going to dig into a few important topics. As my last time I started this, I actually had the sledding display on. Duplicate these to screens, and it only showed the outside view of my back screen there on my desktop. So I want to hit the important notes here. What's going on? Starting off first with the Bongino report. This guy is spreading and flaunting very dangerous rhetoric on Facebook. He wonders why he's being impaired with Facebook and why he thinks Facebook is kind of intervening. Well, Facebook is getting bashed because of all these, as you already know. And if you don't know, Facebook's been flaunting all this negative and falsified lies in the rhetoric of a lot of its messages. So we're going to get down to the core root of some of the biggest problems. This show, the Bongino Report, once again, states itself as being a conservative, libertarian kind of channel, and that's false. They're completely conservative Republican. They're bashing and questioning Joe Biden's authenticity, his mental cognitive level. They're always going after him, and the guy behind that is flaunting that all the time with these short little clips just to gain the attraction and the views of people, and it's disgusting. No different than Fox News. It drones on for hours and hours. CNN that goes on the exact polar liberal side, and not all the time is they're posting a waste to watch. If you really dig into some of their content, eventually it's something you'll come across on either Fox News and I'm talking about the big Fox News, not the small local channels. They're fine. They're not even jumping into that whole whirlwind. But any one of those big news outlets, channels, they're not the biggest construed misconception spreader, but definitely on Facebook. The Bongino Report is there. Fox News, you have Tucker Carlson, which is just a rich trust fund kid that got wealthy, wanted to spread his news, spread his fame, and you can't dislike you can dislike, I say, but you can't dislike so much that you hate somebody because you don't know them. And the same goes for anybody famous, except for some of the actions that Trump did. You could say you dislike them strongly. Hating the man personally, no. That's a bit extreme. And that's the problem with our country. We're so divided. Bill Maher already covered this topic on HBO. Look it up. He may be libertarian, he may smoke a lot of pot, but he's 62 years old and he's been doing a show for a very long time. He knows what he's talking about when we talk about hitting the notes where it really counts. So, the main gist of what I'm going to get at here, the core root, and apology for all that background, is people are blaming Biden for his, impacts of suppressing and causing gas prices to spike because he's shut down the oil rigs. There's a guy that already talked about this, how, it's ridiculous. He was on Fox News, and I didn't watch this, but I saw it online when I looked it up. Gas prices are going up. Well, they're going to go up anyway. COVID's been around for so long. Restaurants and businesses are already running out because there's shortage. They're running on shortages of normal things like paper plates and food and products, whether it's standardized things you can normally get without a problem. Specialized seafood, special orders, standardized materials for offices and buildings. We're having a shortage of everything. So when you have less of something, price goes up. That's normal. When Biden himself cut the oil rig or the oil pipeline and did this whole thing, as what they'll probably call it, him blaming him for his weak policies because of it being too environmentally focused and not thinking about the outcome of Americans. Well, think about how all the Americans are wasting gas when they are rushing to buy these big gas guzzlers or old gas guzzlers to recycle or reuse them, instead of saying, hey, let's take these old gas guzzlers and break them down, recycle, and push toward a profit of putting money toward more environmental friendly or more energy productive things. Because I am not a believer in replacing all cars with electric. The average person can't even afford it. Same thing with gun rights and aspect as to why I believe in, when I wear an NRA shirt like I do here, it's not because I pay for a membership, okay? It's because I believe in the right to carry and sensible carry, with the common knowledge that most people usually skip past of always making sure the gun's not armed, not loaded, and it is never pointed towards somebody. And the most absolute important function is knowing that as a gun owner, if I am carrying, when I do, I always know that the last thing I want to think about having to do is actually being forced to use it. Okay? And the old world philosophy where the good guy with a gun can stop any crime, if that was true, we wouldn't have mass shootings happening all around the world because you'd have good guys out there to fix and stop the problem. But that's why we have police. And with the topic of police, more recently with the governor of my state, Ron DeSantis, he did a very respectful thing, even though he's been questionably challenging, flaunting, taunting, and disrespectfully shutting down these COVID restrictions and choices, but leaving it more so up to the people of Florida to make their choice. And the voice here is fairly clear. It proves that we are divided as a country because you got parents battling back and forth why their kids should wear a mask and why other parents say that they shouldn't be a mask. And there's that battle that proves we are in fact divided. And even more so importantly, the Bongino report, this guy he doesn't just tell you facts, okay? He literally decides that in his videos, he's always questioning and making fun of how Donald Trump got recognized more, but Joe Biden, Mr. Oh, supposed to be so special and such a leader, change and positive change to the world, he's not getting as much love. And what do you think that rhetoric kind of sounds familiar for when you're starting to question and doubt certain things, question famous political people? It's not just normal criticism, it's that taunting of similar things that you'll see from Tucker Carlson when he's always asking the question, leaving the viewer confused, always making them feel frustrated. You're listening to somebody narrate questionable things you can't really always break down. It gets so frustrating, you get angry, and then you're wondering why you're thinking all these extremist and far-off conspiracy theories. And after a while, you get pushed into that channel and you start to digest this. You can't get away from it, whether it's online, it's on the TV, it's on your smartphone. The way the synchronized artificial intelligence programs work today with our social media is if they see you watching something, they're going to always suggest these videos to you, and that's how you find yourself stuck in the rabbit hole. So the smartest thing you can do is wake up and think about not judging every other American that voted for Biden when you yourself voted for Trump, or vice versa. Those who voted for Biden should not be judging everybody who voted for Trump. And the reason for that is it's about their actions. Their actions are what speak loudest. And here's the thing, as you're now probably thinking, well, I should probably make the point of why is Biden even being president? Because there's a lot of talk about that too. They say he's unfit, he's not mentally well. Well, here's a sad reality for you. Apart from gas prices, which we're going to go up anyway, COVID shortage, and that effect, how were we supposed to fix this problem is a last minute note I'll point out, when no American really was focused on getting vaccinated because they choose not to. And once again, for those who don't want to get vaccinated, who quit their jobs, I say, God bless, American right, for the cops and the nurses, the emergency workers, the firemen, who don't want to be stuck in a situation where you're forced to deal with COVID vaccine mandates. The governor of Florida already spoke out and did something that I can say for one rare instance in this case does speak loudly to American principles. He basically told them, come on down here. We'll give you a bonus. We'll pay you. Come on down here to Florida. And I say amen to that. We are short on state police. We are short on regular cops. And if there's anything we're too short on, or not too short on, is all the crazy nuts and Florida men and women that do crazy, insane things, murdering their lovers, murdering their kids, extreme acts of violence, ranting out in public, causing disturbances, holding up the road, intentional traffic accidents. I, for one, can say I've already had more than one nut try to intentionally hit me with their car using it as a weapon. I could have had my gun on me at the time, but I chose not to and just chose to do the defensive thing to avoid the accident, put myself off the side of the road, slow down, keep my distance, not engage. A lot of other people don't think like this, or don't even catch it before it happens, or it's too late, or know how the best to react in those cases. And with the factor of why you see this tab up here, go Brandon, this guy right here, this is so sad. There's two sad factors to this. The Let's Go Brandon is basically what started over the construct that people couldn't get away with saying, go F Joe Biden, because that would not spread well. That would not gain enough traction. It wouldn't gain much popularity. So sadly, in NASCAR, this guy wins his first NASCAR Daytona race. And then people are making the statement in the background, as you see from this video here. It's only 2 days ago, or from this point, not that long ago, maybe 16 hours, yeah. It's only four total days ago, whatever the case is. He wins his first Daytona, and his name is now a label. And other Brandons, the people in America or around the world that have this name, should not be thinking it's a good thing that your name, Brandon, is being used in a chant. It's a labeling you, okay? And it's saying that you stand for a slogan that says, F Joe Biden. That's not positive. That's negative rhetoric. Again, no different than the Bongino report, or Tucker Carlson for that matter, okay? They're literally spreading off of you up here in your mind to infest and misguide you into dividing as a country as a whole to cause confusion. What they should be doing is finding the truth about Republicans that are just as hypocritical as Democrats right now. Democrats are hee-hawing around, as I say, as donkeys do, and the elephant in the party in the room was shot dead, literally, by the most worst criminal of all, as he's been labeled, and he's the one trying to make money off this right now. Good old Donald Jr. Okay, so Donald Jr., he has gotten himself right now, right here. He is just taunting and flaunting this whole thing right after this woman died. And it's very sad, very poor taste. I call him a vulture, okay? This whole aspect, and even in his article, they even said, he's basically the relation to pond scum. So he's just gone to an all-time low. He's selling for $19.99, trying to monopolize money off of a woman who died accidentally by the hands of Alec Baldwin. And the truth of what happened on set, and you can look it up yourself, there's always a gun safety director on set who's always checking the guns to make sure they're not armed. I mean, as I said before, earlier, as you heard from me, somebody who is, as I will state again, a liberal, but not an extreme liberal. I believe in Second Amendment carry for general safety rights because it's just become a more toxic and hostile world, and you never know when your life's going to be in jeopardy. Do I think that my life's threatened by everybody? No. But if it's going to happen, I don't want to be defenseless, and I don't want somebody else to be defenseless. It feels like I'm unable to protect. And no, I don't think like you got to own a big bad gun to carry around and act like I'm tough. It's more a matter of just knowing something bad's going to go down, and you could have been there to do something. And you had the opportunity. Would you have done it? This guy, he had the opportunity to not do this. And he did it anyway. He knew that the girl died by a horrible tragedy. Alec Baldwin, he already expressed his human empathy, and he already showed more of it than Don Jr. has in his whole body. I mean, you're not probably going to see Alec Baldwin acting or doing anything for a while. He's absolutely been devastated from this, and I completely agree that it was a devastating event to even occur. And how the accident even occurred, how even a live round got on the gun itself, even if it's not live, it's still dangerous if you're within range of that prop gun. How that can work with the explosion, it's just as realistic with that gunfire and that expulsion of the I'll say not the fuse, but the gunpowder and the shell casing. Whatever, and however that's set up. I don't know myself. I'm not an expert on it. But my point is that to monopolize off a woman's death, to make fun of Alec Baldwin, tells me one thing. Very, very shallow-minded. Just a low blow. It's a very low step. And it's like he's trying to get his daddy's approval. Donald Jr. is, in fact, anybody who should be relearning how to treat other people after already watching how his dad has managed this and how things have gone up and down. He seems to think now he can just taunt and flaunt this, and push it, And him stating he's an American activist is a scary aspect in itself. So you better hope that all the knowledgeable, smart folks of the civilized world are not going to try to join this circus, because our country's going to become more divided as we spread this mistruth. And the last and most important factor of people making fun of Joe Biden and his brain aneurysm truth that I made a point out in my last video, that explains actually a lot of why he's having these problems. He has peripheral problems, almost risk of becoming blind, and he survived 2 of these brain aneurysms, and people are bashing this man and thriving on this because he's unfit and uncivil. And I'm going to point out where the double standard falls in, just like when people tried to say Donald Trump should be removed because he's deranged, he's unhinged, he doesn't know how to run the country. I never hated Donald Trump, and I can't hate Joe Biden. But people apparently have room for hate in their life. They want to spread this message. So here's the real function. Okay? You have right here the explanation of why Joe Biden's speech is so terrible. Why he's always slipping up. He's had 2 brain aneurysms. And when you go to jump into research into this, you'll find everybody saying he's unfit, he needs to be removed. Well, yeah, so should have Trump. But he didn't. Just like the 2 impeachments that were filed against him that are not officially convicting him, that everyone's so upset about. Just move on. Be an adult. Be a grown-up. Congress got over this stuff. And even if my, apparent knowledge of knowing that Mitch McConnell, who has blocked so many things and even had that evil laugh, which is in a separate video. Not sure if I'm going to pull all that in today, but the main point of what I'm going to get at, okay, and the most critical factor here is that you have this issue with short-term memory difficulties and decreased concentration perception problems, namely to peripheral vision and near literal blindness. But Joe Biden's not near blindness, but if he ever does become blind, we'll know why. The man has suffered through brain aneurysms. You go through and you try to live your life normally and function normally, and then become a great leader of a country and have gone through brain aneurysms and be able to talk normal without any issues or problems. I think the man's doing very well for his condition. And giving him just a mere 8 to 9 months to solve the entire crisis of the COVID pandemic, okay? Actually, it's been now... my mistake. 10 months. We're almost in 11 months. Okay, 10 months to completely fix the problems that Donald Trump left in this country. Joe Biden made the choice to go back and erase some of these things that Trump did. There's nothing wrong with that. He's not hurting anybody. He's fighting for the middle class, and people call him a socialist? BS, man. The man is literally so in the center, it's not even funny. You can't even get this dude to budge, okay? He's harder to move than you could even imagine. So he's actually a perfect fit for what we need in Congress right now because all those senators aren't budging. So if he's able to be stubborn, he may be able to push and ease them up on getting real with the real issues. And maybe some truth will come out of this because Republicans are just as much to blame as Democrats. It's not just a one side point fingers and whoever's at fault here, okay? And if people say that Biden should be removed, well, Trump should have been removed, okay? Double standard I call, because there were plenty of people who thought Trump should have been removed, but he never was, and nothing bad happened because we have our balances of checks and systems, the balance of checks and balances in the system there. And then you got, the functionality of the difference there between the two presidents. You have Trump, who just can't stop speaking, and then you have Biden, who has the problem with what he says, and how he says it. It's not all the time, but he does go off into these tangents, and that's normal. He's an old man. I mean, every president we've had of recent late last year has been old, except for Obama, which I'll say the only good thing out of him was spreading the whole, let's vote for change, let's do something for the future, and that's where we are now. We have a chance to make that happen, not for Obama's legacy, but for America's future, America's children, Southerners and Northerners alike, to unite and to come together and stop tearing our country apart. We who don't make the $100,000 a year, me, I'm one of them, I'm sure you probably watching this video don't make $100,000 a year, I assure you, we fall into that class of folks who really need to start listening deeper and not judge first based on the merits of what we look at, okay? So I thank you for watching, and I'm trying to do my best to really spread this awareness. I'll be showing my flags pretty soon about how Let's Go Brandon is not a good taste, how we shouldn't, just for spreading those flags out in America, because anybody that knows what they stand for knows what it means. It's basically giving the bird to the president, and it's teaching kids out there on the road that parents can act like delinquents, running around cussing and cursing vocally, so much so that they subject kids and other adults to this on the road, when the kids have to deal with this enough as it is. I mean, Gen Z didn't have to be obsessed with phones when they got into the culture market with, social media platforms, but it just so happens that that's the way things work nowadays, is that social media is what runs everything. And the reason why I even make videos is because I'm a Gen X baby. I'm a little bit more quieter and reserved, but I feel like I have to come out and say something because there's just an unequal imbalance there. So thank you again for watching. And I hope I'll be able to come up with another proven point as to why there's so much hypocritical construct here, that there is no reason why Joe Biden can't run this country any differently than the extremist side of what we had with Donald Trump, and why Donald Trump should ever come back. If there's even that floating chance, he would have to convince the entire country that he's not going to sit there and lie to us again. Because I guarantee you look it up, there are dozens of organizations that have come out recently this year to speak out against why they are no longer with Donald Trump. And you should really watch that, okay? It's not because it's anti-messages. It's just truth of being an American. Watch it, learn it, do your research, and thank you again for joining me.